Welcome back to Objects and Methods. This is the last section in our huge Smali chapter right now, and it's also the most amazing part because Objects and Methods gives us the possibility to mod our code, to modify it. So we can insert complete new code into our application. I mean, okay, we have done this regarding to overriding single registers, but now we can add additional code, and we will use this to do a lot of amazing stuff. For example, we insert code that prints out passwords or crypto keys. We can also set some print statements to print out values of registers, for example, or regarding to checks. So if this check has been set to true or false. So we can do a lot of stuff. Okay, so let's simply just dive into this and you will see how amazing this is. All right, so we start with a simple example. On the left, let me get this mouse, there we go. We've got our check if we lose function. And this one, got a local variable, which is named collision. We are creating a new player. And this player calls now this collision function, and this collision returns a Boolean value, true or false, and then we return this value over here. And if this value is, for example, true, then we lose, otherwise this game can move on. All right, this time we are not that interested in this function over here, we are mostly interested in this one, the player. So how does this object get created? And if you take a look on the right, we've got the Smali code. And we can see we've got a new instance, v0. Then we've got the reference to this instance, and this is the class reference to player. We can see this at the ending at the semicolon over here. Then we have an invoke direct method call. And now we also need to take care about details like this brackets. This will invoke this method on this object. And the method we are going to invoke is our class reference player.init. Init is the constructor, so we didn't write in constructor or we didn't define a constructor over here in the player class. I mean, you cannot see this, but at least there will be a default constructor. We will see this if we code this later on real quick. Okay, and this constructor gets called and it returns void. And we can now call methods on this object, which is super amazing. So let's say this player object got some different methods. We can now extend this code by calling additional methods over here. Super nice. All right, we can see, okay, this v0 becomes now a local variable, which is player. So now we've got our player variable, but the most important part are these two instructions, new instance and invoke direct. All right, then we've got this one over here. Here we are calling a method on this object. Let's see how it looks like. Okay. This time we've got invoke virtual. This just means we've got a public method. Invoke direct, you remember, this was regarding to constructors and private methods. Invoke virtual is regarding to public methods. Okay, then we've got our brackets and we've got our v0. And then we can see it once again, class reference player collision. This is how we can call a method on this object. So the approach is always the same regarding to objects. We also learn about static methods. This is a little bit different, it's more easier, but for now we are just looking on objects over here. All right, and then the rest is well known. We move the result into v1, which means our v1 register now holds the return value of this method, player.collision, and then we simply return this v1. And we can also see this one over here, which is the local variable collision. So it gets assigned just before we return this value, but that's not really important. All right, and that's all about our function here. So if you take a look at the left side in the Java code, we can see there's a lot of stuff going on, and also on the right side, of course. But now we are able to understand what's going on. So regarding to this new instance and invoke direct, okay, we have to learn this first, but we will do this by practicing. But after all, I mean, this one is pretty identical to this one. This is just another method, a different one. This is the constructor and this is a collision method. So if you want to create a new player object, we simply can take this one over here, and all we have to do is we have to assign it to a new register. So we use, for example, v1 for this, and also here. And then we can create a new player. We will do this in the SpaceBank application later on. But first of all, let's switch to our Ubuntu VM and code this application real quick. And then we can practice and play around a little bit. All right. Okay, here we are now at the Ubuntu VM. Let's write this application. So we open Android Studio. Okay, so here we create a new project now. Empty activity. And we name this Smali 3. On Java, and we go back to Marshmallow. All right. So let's wait until the Gradle build has been finished. This might take some minutes. So I see you in a few moments. Alrighty, the build has been finished. This is our application. Now let's create a new class. And you know what? We name this player once again. So it's really impressive how much diversity I bring into this right now. But having this class name, I mean, this is the best example in my opinion to practice this. So this time let's make it a little bit different. So now we've got a level completely different. And we start with a level 1. But we still got a power level. And I guess we got a little bit stronger. So now our power level is, well, let's say 50. 50 is good. And you know what? This time we also create a constructor. So I guess that's the first time we create a constructor over here. So I guess we cannot complain anymore about some diversity in our application here. We print out that we have created a new object. And that's all. Okay. Then we have two methods. Public void, let's see. We've got level up method. Yeah, level up is good. And this increase our level by 1. And we also print this out, our new level here. All right, and then we've got a different method, another method, which is increase power. And we've got a parameter of power, and we increase our power by this. And we also print this out. All right, this looks good. The code regarding to this will be massive. So the player.smali file, it will be no fun to look at this right now. We will learn how to do this, but not yet. What we are interested in is, or what we are interested in, yeah, I guess that's correct, is how we can create a new object. So let's see, we go into our main, and here we create now a new player. And we call some methods. So let's call increase power, and we provide a new one, which is 900. Okay, we do not call the other method, but this is, that's good for us. All right, we build this application and then we install it. We have a quick look into this, then we decompile it and we analyze the Smali code. So the approach is, pretty the same. And this time we try to insert some new code over here, which will be super amazing. So let's see. We've got our app, and let's put this into an extra directory. So we've got apps, and we've got absolutely no structure, or at least I've got absolutely no structure in there. So let's call this Smali 3. In case you did better, please write me a message on how to organize this a little bit. Maybe I will adjust this in the future. So we insert it, and then we decompile. Now let's install it first. So let's see how it works. Yes, ADB is missing. Okay, maybe we have to first connect. Okay, we are connecting first. Now we're installing this app. We get the screen. And we also get a new terminal to fetch the output. So in the past, we have seen the logcat output is really massive. Therefore, we filter for this right now. And we can do this with grep-i for ignore case sensitive. And we're looking for system out instructions. Okay, we open our app. There we go. Yeah, we've gotten hello world, but this is what we are interested in. A new player object has been created, no typo, nice. New power level is 900. Okay, I guess the sentence could have been grammatically a little bit better, but it's okay for us. So we have created a new player object and we have increased the power level. So let's have a look into the Smali code and let's see how this part looks like. And therefore I get rid of all these windows. And we decompile this app. And we are opening it with the Visual Studio Code Editor, classes 2. All right, COM app hacking. Let's have a look into this player Smali. So let's see. Okay, and let's start at the beginning. So we've got our public class, our player class. We do not extend a certain special class. So we are having a superclass of Java-lang object. This is the source. We've got 2 instance fields over here. We haven't seen this quite a while, but it's nice to see it. Then we've got our constructor, and now we've got some code in our constructor over here. And here we can see, wow, okay, I didn't expect it to be that massive, but this looks really hard right now. So I mean increase power, let's have a look. All right, it's just this one, these 2 lines over here. And these 2 lines generate this amount of Smali code. We will learn how to deal with this, and it won't be, or it will not be that complex. But for now we skip this. Also the level up. Okay, let's have a look into something more smooth. So the main activity. Those windows gets even more. I've got this feeling. Okay, so here we have our main activity and we are only interested in this part over here. So this, by the way, this is, if we look in this, so this is v0, we are getting this value into v0, and here we have invoke virtual, so we are invoking this this method code, and this one has an integer parameter. So this is referenced as an integer, but it's some kind of reference. So just if you are curious and would like to know what this one is, so this is the parameter of set content view, which is this one over here. So this ID. All right. So at least not a reference. This is an ID over here. Sorry, not an address. This is an ID. Okay. But this is not something we are interested right now. So let's skip this. And we now focus only on this part right now. So I get out my graphic tablet and then we discuss these few lines. Okay guys, let's have a look into this code over here. All right, the first line is already a new instruction. Let's see what this does. New instance, then we have a register v0. We've got a type reference, capital L until player, and then we have our semicolon. So we've got the player type. Okay, let's get out our cheat sheet, or the Smali opcode cheat sheet, and have a look. Okay, so let's look this instruction up. I hope you have your cheat sheet next to you because we will need this a lot during this chapter and also within the last couple of videos. So this cheat sheet is really important for us. Okay, so we are looking for new instance. New instance. Okay, we have only those 2. Okay, that's good. New instance, vx, and then we have comma type. Instantiates an object type and puts the reference of the newly created instance into vx. Wow, okay. This is a lot of stuff going on in this instruction over here. Let's read this once again. But let's close it over here. Okay. Instantiates an object type. So, okay, this is our object type and puts the reference of the newly created instance. We are creating a new instance and we put the reference into vx. Okay, so let's have a look into the example. Maybe we understand this a little bit better over here. So we've got new instance v0 and then we've got Java IO file input stream. So we are creating a new instance of Java IO file input stream and put this into v0. And this is super amazing. Why? Because we have now an instance of file input stream. We can, for example, also use file output stream. And we can use this instance now to log sensitive information. Let's assume we've got an AES encrypt and decrypt method. We can now use this instance over here, which is stored in v0, to log out sensitive information like the password, the initialization vector, the encrypted or maybe also the decrypted message. We can also use this to create new code in our application. So we can create new instance of whatever we like. And this one is super amazing because we will use this to insert debug statements, to print out register values, to check which if statement we are taking, which path we are taking in this application, and many, many amazing stuff. Okay, but first we have to understand how we can work with this. All right, so let's step back a little bit. So let's get back into our code. Okay, so this one over here is our object type. Object type. So we are instantiating a new object type. So player. And we are putting the reference of this newly created instance. So we are having a reference of this newly created instance and we are putting this into v0. This player gets now put into v0. All right, this was a short sentence, but a lot of stuff was stored in there. This means we are having this line. Our object type, we are creating a new instance and we put the reference into v0. Okay, but we do not do more. So in this case, we cannot use something like, for example, player dot power. This is not possible. Why? Because we haven't called the constructor yet. We only have a reference of this object. So this is just a reference, nothing more. This is not a valid object or instance right now. Okay. So I guess it will become one in maybe the next line. Let's see. So we are here. So we know invoke direct is regarding to private methods or constructors. Okay. Invoke direct, then we've got this curly brackets over here, which is interesting because we haven't seen them here, for example. It seems to be new. Invoke direct, then we've got our type reference, or in this case, we also have our instance reference because we have this arrow over here. This means this is a dot. So our v0 needs to be our player. So player dot init in this case. But before we do too much guessing, let's look this up. What this instruction does. Okay, we are looking for invoke direct. Okay, we've got 6 hits. So invoke direct parameters method call. Invoke direct slash range and invoke direct empty. Okay, so this one is definitely what we're looking for. Invoke direct, then we have parameters and we have a method call. Invokes a method with parameters without the virtual method resolution. Okay, so if we do not care about this one over here, what we do right now, then we simply just invoke a method with parameters. That sounds not that hard, but let's have a look at the example. Invoke direct v1, then we've got java-lang object and also this constructor of java-lang object, this init. But we can see here, if this is the method, then it's a little bit strange because we do not have a parameter in there. And here it tells us invokes a method with parameters. But here we can see no parameters are in there. So let's read a little bit further. We've got this strange looking method 8. Invokes the 8th method in the method table. So I'm really not sure what this is about, so we simply ignore this. With just one parameter, okay? And v1 is the this instance. Okay. So this means v1 is our parameter, but v1 is our this instance. So therefore we do not have a parameter over here. This is now like the p0 register. If we would have a parameter over here, we would have a second register in there. So the first register within this curly brackets of invoke direct means this is the this instance, our this object. And afterwards there will be all the other parameters regarding to the function call. But this is now empty because we only have our this object over here. This is pretty similar to the P0 register right now. Okay, so it's absolutely normal if you are now a little bit confused. But if we do our own method call or the next method call, you will see what I mean. Okay? So then let's get back. Enable our well-written text here. I mean, it's getting a little bit off, but yeah, it's okay. So this means invoke direct. We are invoking the constructor. This one here is our this object. So this means our this object is the player because it's v0. Therefore, I write this down as follow player. And then we have a dot and then this init method. But this init method is within these curly brackets. And this means it's not a real method in our Java code. So if we take back a look into this, if we create a new player object, it will be only this line here. And yeah, that's also what we've got in our Smali part at the first line. But within our player object, we also got this one over here. This is now our constructor that prints out a new player object has been created. And this constructor right now is exactly what's happening in this line. Therefore, this was the reason why I've been so precise on reading the Smali instruction. At this point, we do not have our system out print line. This happens at this point right now, but this is not a Java instruction or Java function we can see in our code. This is hidden. So if we take a look back into main activity, we do not have this over here there. We've got it included in this one, but there's no certain instruction for this. In Smali, we can see this. So this one over here. It's like in the matrix where we can see the code, what's really happening. In this case, we can see, okay, we are creating a new instance, and here we are calling the constructor of this instance. And yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but this part is always the same. We are creating a new instance, and then we invoke direct on the constructor. In case the constructor has some parameters in there, they will be of course included over here. But let's do this step by step and not making it too complex right now. Okay, so we get back on this one. This means we have our player init, but this one is not mentioned in the Java code, so we do not see this. At least we are in the matrix over here and in the Smali part. Then we are able to see everything. Okay. So this line does not have a certain Java value over here. So these two will end up in this line. Okay, so we've got this one and we've got this one. Then clean this up. Okay. Next, okay, this one is familiar. Local v0 means we have a label for our register right now. It becomes a variable or an object in this case, and this object is named player. But we are super smart and already named this as player. So we are also done on this one. Okay, so these three lines are clear right now. The next one also, we have const/16 v1 and then this value. So at this point we are writing v1, or we are writing this value into v1. 0x384. And this is the value, let's do the math. Okay, it's 900. I really hope it's 900, otherwise I have to record this video once again. Alright, so let's see. We also got this line over here. Okay, next we have invoke virtual. And this means we are invoking a virtual method, which is a public method. So we have invoke direct regarding to private methods and constructors. We have invoke virtual regarding to public methods. And then we have invoke static. So static methods are pretty similar regarding to both of them. But a static method does not have this error over here, which signals this is now an instance field or instance method, because a static method does not have an instance. We will talk about static methods in a separate section, but these are our three types we have to deal with. And it's not that complicated. It's only these three: invoke direct, invoke virtual, and invoke static. Okay? So let's see. Invoke virtual. We are having a public method. We know this one here is our this object. This means we have now a parameter over here. Let's see. We've got increase power. This is the method or the instance method. And yes, we've gotten parameter over here from type integer. Okay, we are returning void. That's nice to know. So let's get through this once again. Invoke virtual. We are calling a public method. We have our this object. Our this object is from type player. So yeah, we do not have to write this down. We also gotten parameter in our method invocation, and this is v1. And v1 is being passed as parameter over here. So I clean this up real quick. Now we can see this a little bit better. This is our v1. But to be sure, anyway, let's look this up. So we are looking for invoke virtual. Okay, here we can see we've got 8 hits. So invoke virtual, parameters in curly brackets, method call. This looks super promising, but nevertheless, let's check the others too. Range, okay, quick and quick range. All right, this one is our method call. Invokes a virtual method with parameters. Nice. This description is super awesome. I mean, it tells us everything which we can understand. It just invokes a virtual method with parameters. That's all. But let's have a look at the description. Invokes a virtual method. Here we have v4, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters. And here we can see, okay, we've got test2, this is our instance, and method 5 is the method we are calling. And here we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, at the beginning we would have been confused. But now we know the first register is our this object. Let's read this up. Invokes the 6th method in the method table, okay, we ignore this, with the following arguments. v4, yes, is the this instance. And v0, v1, v2, and v3 are the method parameters. The method has 5 arguments and yeah, 4 most significant bits, whatever. All right, these are our arguments. Sorry, these are our parameters, and we have 5 arguments, including our this. Okay, I hope I didn't make it more complex, so let's see. We enable our... Ooh, it looks a little bit messy right now. Was it all the time like this? Maybe. Okay, so we've got our this. This is now our parameter. And we are invoking increase power. So this means we have player dot increase power with v1 as parameter, and v1 is 900. All right, so at this point we create a new player object. Let me clean this up a little bit. Okay, way better. So we create a new player object over here, and this is done by calling new instance and invoke direct, these two. Then we are writing v1 or this value into v1, okay. We also address our label for our register. I mean, these are not regarding to objects right now, so we ignore them. And then next we call a method, this one over here. And we call this method with invoke virtual. Then we provide the this object in v0, this register. Then we provide our parameters. And then we have our type reference of the this object, which ends at the semicolon. Then we've got our error, which signals now we have our instance method. And the instance method is called increased power, has a parameter over here, and returns void. And this is exactly what this line over here does. All right, so these two lines, player new player and player increase power, are regarding to the following 3 Smali lines. This one, and this one. So this is how we can create a new object and also call a new method. So let's recap this real quick on the slides, and then we will write our first Smali code. Because our player instance has another method, this one over here. And this method is never be used in our code. We are not calling it in our app. But we will patch the application that we call this method. So we will write our first real Smali line based on inserting or executing a new function call in our app. Okay, but first let's go back to the slides. Okay, so this is a different function, but it doesn't really matter. So the approach of creating a new instance and calling an instance method is always the same. Here we can see this method check if we lose returns a Boolean value and does not have a parameter. Okay, then we are creating a new instance over here. New instance also from type player. Okay. So we also have this sentence over here copied from this awesome site. Instantiates an object type and puts the reference of the newly created instance into Vx. Okay, our v0 is now holding our reference to this instance. Next, we've got invoke direct. Invokes a method with parameters without the virtual method resolution. We ignore everything after without, and we have a look into this. Invoke direct, then curly brackets, parameters, and our method call. Okay, so to create a new object, we simply need the following two lines. These create a new object and they store it in v0. Now we have the v0 register, and if we want to invoke a method on this object, we can use the next one, the invoke virtual, on our object, which is v0, and then we simply have to write L for the type reference of what this object is. So our v0 this object, then semicolon, arrow, and the method name. If we would have some parameters, we need to declare them in invoke virtual at this point right here. But in this case, we can see no parameters are required. Okay, so I would suggest let's go back into our code and let's write our first line of Smali. So we want to call a new instance method. Let's see if we can do this. So we have our code over here, and now we want to write it in the following way. Player.levelup. We want to have this code afterwards in our application. Okay, we can now build this application, and then we are done. But so let's assume we do not have the source code over here and we cannot simply add Java code. Therefore, we need to go back on our Smali part. All right, so let's see. Let's make some notes. Our method is level up. It does not have parameters and we are returning void. So this is our function definition. Let's see. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new instance. But in this case, we already have our instance because these two lines here has created our player object and stored this in v0. It hasn't been overwritten yet, so we simply can use this one. Okay, if you want to call a new method, then we have to use invoke virtual for public methods. Maybe we have to also declare it over here. Let's do it in this way. Okay. So invoke virtual. Okay, then we can see we do not have any parameters in there, but we need our this object, and our this object is being stored in v0. Okay, so we have one parameter which is v0. Then we've gotten comma, and now we need the type reference of our v0. Type reference starts with this capital L, and then we have to get here the type reference of this player class. So we can fetch this from here. Okay, the dots needs to be replaced with slashes because within Smali these are directories. Okay, so we have our player and the type reference ends at the semicolon. Then we want to call an instance method, which means we have to add our arrow over here. And now we simply have to add the function definition of our method we want to call. We can see this one here is called level up. All right, level up. We can see we do not have parameters and we are returning void. That's all. This line will execute and level up on our player object. And this is nice, because our player would otherwise not have been the possibility to level up. And this is something, of course, we do not want to have. We want a well-leveled player right now. So let's see. Let's build this application back and install it on the device. Okay, so here we are back. I have built and signed this application. Here's our device, and we can also see, whoops, we've got the old application installed. So by opening this, we create a new player object and we have a power level of 900 now. All right, so let's uninstall this and yeah, install our new version. Let's put some dramatic countdown on this to, yeah, see if our player gets some level up. So I will open this application in 3, 2, 1. Oh, never mind, I just open it. Yes, a new player object has been created, new power level is 900, our player is now level 2. We hadn't the ability to level up in this application, but now we introduced it. And you can imagine how many stuff you can do right now. But please, do not use this to cheat on online games or other games or applications where you do not have the permission to do so, okay? So I'm not responsible if you misuse your newly gained power, alright? In this case, I give you the permission to hack this application. So we've gotten level up and we are now level 2. But let's assume this is a function, yeah, that's exactly doing the same in some other applications, or it increases our power, our gold, our life, our health, whatever. So why do we call it just once? Wouldn't it be more fun regarding to this app right now if we call this multiple times? So regarding to the Java code, let's say instead of doing this, and let's do this. So in this way, we will level up a lot more faster, right? Okay, let's see how we can do this. We go back in our Smali code, and if we take a look into this, we can see we do not have certain parameters or certain conditions over here. We call this instance method level up, no parameters and void. That's all. Within this method, we go into our player object and yeah, it does the rest. So therefore, let's simply copy and paste this line. So I copy it and now we paste it a little more often. Okay, so let's build this application back again and see how it works. Okay, so here we are back again. I have built this new version. We can see the old one is still running. Let's uninstall this. adb uninstall, com app hacking, Smali 3, adb install out apk. In the background you can see the code, our Smali code with all these level ups. Should we put some dramatic counter on this once again? Let's do this. 3, 2, 1, go. And there we go. We've got now a lot of more level ups, which is super amazing. So this is how we have to deal with objects and instance methods. To recap this real quick, let's have a look. The things we need to do is we need to create a new instance. Then we need to invoke the constructor of this instance. And this is within this brackets over here. If the constructor has some parameters, constructor. If the constructor has some parameters, we have to declare them over here. Let's say our constructor has an integer. Then we need to introduce a new register over here. For example, v2. This one is now 10. And then we also have now a parameter, with v2. All right. So in case it does not have any parameters, then we can stick to this approach. Okay, so let's get cleaned on this. So new instance, invoke direct, and then we have this object on v0. If you want to call a method, a public method, we can use invoke virtual, amount of parameters, object reference, our arrow for instance method, the instance method and the prototype, and that's it. These 3 steps. So let me show you this in this way. These 3 steps are required to do this. Okay? Alright, so that's all for this video right now. In the next video, we take a look at static methods, and this will be super amazing because we get back on our SpacePing application and we will do a lot of funny stuff over there. Okay, so I'm looking forward to see you there.